There is something nobody tells you about rock history. Every name on this list, 10 of them, from every corner of rock and roll, every era, every genre, eventually hit the same wall. The voice, the body, the physical instrument they built their entire career on. At some point, it filed a formal complaint. There is a thread running through this list that connects the first entry to the last one. Watch for it. It is not age, exactly. It is something more specific than age. We will name it when it arrives. 10 frontmen, 1 map, let's go. Number 10, David Lee Roth, Van Halen. This is where the map begins, and the first line on it runs directly to the last. David Lee Roth was the most athletic frontman in the history of arena rock. High kicks, backflips.
Reach down between my legs.
A physical performance style, sharp, combustible, impossible to separate from the band itself, that redefined what it meant to own a stage. Van Halen without Diamond Dave was a fundamentally different thing. The riffs were the same. The presence was gone. Here is where this connects. In October 2021, Roth announced his retirement. 5 final shows at the House of Blues in Las Vegas. He didn't elaborate at length. What he said was this, that his doctors and handlers had compelled him to address something, that every time he went on stage, he was, in his exact words, endangering that future. And that phrase, endangering that future, is the first thread on this map, because you will hear it again on this list. Not in those exact words, but in every entry that follows. The body starts sending a message. The question is always the same. Does the frontman receive it? The Las Vegas farewell shows were ultimately canceled, COVID, he said, though the plan never recovered. His last confirmed public performance was a March 2020 opening slot for Kiss in Texas. He went out without the send-off he had planned, in an era that never gave him the exit he deserved. He would try to come back years later, but the moment of reckoning was real. You already know most of the names coming after this. What you may not know is how each of them connects to this moment, and to each other. A single thread, different forms, same arrival point. Number 9, Roger Daltrey, The Who. This begins with a single fact. Roger Daltrey is still out there, at 82, on tour. And in a 2025 interview, he told a journalist he was nervous about whether his body would make it to the end of the run. Follow this thread. In 2015, Daltrey contracted viral meningitis, inflammation of the tissue covering the brain and spinal cord. The Who's North American tour was postponed while he recovered. When he came back, he told Rolling Stone it had taken a heavy physical toll. His legs, his feet, and something else? The meningitis destroyed his internal temperature regulation. Anytime he sings in a climate above 75 degrees, he sweats uncontrollably, draining his body salts mid-performance. He is managing a condition every night that most people would sit down for. Here is where the pattern changes. Daltrey has also disclosed that he is losing both his hearing and his sight simultaneously, macular degeneration, going deaf. Something he believes started not in the arenas of the Who's peak years, but in the sheet metal factory where he worked at 16, before he ever stood in front of a microphone. At one Teenage Cancer Trust concert, he told the crowd, with the dark humor of a man who has made peace with the absurdity, that if he lost his voice too, he would go the full Tommy, deaf, dumb, and blind, and he is still on stage. That is not a contradiction. That is a specific kind of stubbornness that is going to appear, in different shapes, from here to number 1. The stage is not something these men do. It is something they are. The moment you understand that, the reason they don't stop even when the body files the complaint, is the moment this list makes complete sense.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8. Vince Neil, Motley Crue. This is a specific kind of painful, because this one happened in front of everyone. Vince Neil is the voice of Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood, Kickstart My Heart, the voice that rang through arenas in the 1980s like something invented for that exact purpose. By 2021, it was a different instrument. Not retired, still working, still out there, but audibly struggling in a way that became impossible to ignore. When Motley Crue came back for the 2022 stadium tour, critics and fans documented the same thing. Neil was unable to consistently hit the high registers he had built his career on. He was relying on backing tracks, asking the crowd to carry the choruses. At a solo show in June 2021, 14 songs in, he stopped and told the audience his voice was gone, just gone. He said he was sorry, and he walked off. Here is the line between what you just heard and something bigger. In December 2024, Neil suffered a stroke. Not his first. He had suffered 4 strokes total across the years, 2 of which he didn't know he'd had until doctors found the scarring. The last one was, in his own words, a big one. He had to learn to walk again. Doctors told him he would never return to a stage. And here is the second line. In August 2025, Vince Neil walked onto a stage in Boston. He told the crowd, "They said I wouldn't be back on stage again. I said, fuck that." You just connected that to something else. That specific refusal, the one where the doctor delivers the verdict and the frontman answers with the stage, is the thread this whole list is built on. Number 7, Glenn Frey, The Eagles. This is where the map shows its first hidden line. Glenn Frey was a founder of the Eagles. The voice on Peaceful Easy Feeling, the co-author of Hotel California, the man who, alongside Don Henley, built one of the most commercially dominant rock bands in American history.
She drives on through the night, anticipating.
What most people do not know is how long he was performing in pain before the end. For more than 15 years, Frey had been living with rheumatoid arthritis. It was quietly destroying his hands, swelling the joints, bending the fingers. Don Henley described it years later, with a clarity that stays with you. He said he could see it in Frey's fingers.
The big old house gets lonely.
He said Frey would tape himself up before shows, the way an old football player gets ready for a game he knows will cost him. He called it hidden. He said Frey hid it very well.
But he knows where she's going.
Here is the interrupt. In December 2015, the Eagles had to cancel their Kennedy Center Honors appearance. Frey needed major surgery. No public explanation came that matched the actual severity.
The way she used to feel.
The band announced a break. Everyone assumed it was temporary. Glenn Frey died on January 18, 2016. He was 67. Complications from rheumatoid arthritis, acute ulcerative colitis, and pneumonia.
She won't have to worry.
He had been performing through that condition for the better part of 2 decades. Every chord he played in the later years of the Eagles, every performance on the History of the Eagles tour, was played on hands that were paying a bill in private. Influencing the future is not the same as being remembered by it. And performing through pain is not the same as being seen doing it. There is a thread running through this list. Not just age, not just illness, but the gap between what the audience sees and what the performer is actually carrying. Frey is where that thread becomes fully visible for the first time. Number 6, Gregg Allman, the Allman Brothers Band. In 2012, Gregg Allman received a terminal diagnosis. His liver cancer had returned. 2 years after a transplant had bought him additional time, doctors gave him 12 to 18 months. He told almost no one. That is the line between what the public understood and what was actually happening. Allman had been diagnosed with hepatitis C in 1999. He received a liver transplant in 2010. 2 years later, the cancer came back with a verdict. And his manager, part of a very small inner circle who knew, said Allman wanted to keep it private because he didn't want every concert to become an early goodbye. He wanted genuine applause, not pity. Here is where the map gets complicated. Gregg Allman performed for 5 more years after that diagnosis. The cancellations started multiplying quietly, each one issued with a careful statement about health issues. In October 2016, he played what would become his final concert at his own laid-back festival in Atlanta. Then he canceled everything for 2017. He died on May 27, 2017. He was 69 years old. His final album, Southern Blood, was recorded at Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals. The same building where he and his brother Dwayne had recorded their first demos as young men, before the Allman Brothers Band existed. He returned to the beginning, recorded a farewell, then stopped. Number 5, Paul Stanley, Kiss. This connects backward to every name you have heard, and forward to a specific truth about what 5 decades of the highest volume, highest spectacle performance in rock history actually does to a human body. Kiss was never just a band, it was a physical performance at the outer edge of what rock allowed. Platform boots adding 4 inches to every step, full theatrical production. A frontman who had to be an acrobat, a vocalist, and a theatrical presence simultaneously, every night, for 50 years, in front of audiences who expected the same performance they got at MSG in 1977. Paul Stanley was that frontman, and the receipts were detailed. 2 hip replacement surgeries, the first in October 2004, the second the same December when complications from the first required further intervention. Torn cartilage in both knees. Vocal cord surgery in 2011. He described the procedure at the time as addressing minor issues that come with 40 years of preaching rock and roll, which is a very specific euphemism for the physical degradation that decades of Kiss performances actually demanded. Here is the interrupt. During Kiss's End of the Road farewell tour, which concluded at Madison Square Garden in December 2023, Paul Stanley was accused by fans of lip-syncing. His manager later confirmed he was singing to backing tracks.
So much I wanna do.
At 71 years old, after 2 hip replacements, knee surgeries, a vocal cord procedure, and 4 decades of screaming in platform boots, his voice required external support to deliver what the Kiss audience expected of it. The body always files the bill. It just takes different amounts of time, and it arrives in different forms. Follow this: Neil, Roth, Allman, Frey, Daltrey, Stanley. Every frontman on this list reached a point where the sum total of what the stage had asked them to give was presented back to them as a debt. What differed was the currency. Number 4, John Bon Jovi, Bon Jovi.
It's meant to be. Well, I guess I'm not that good.
John Bon Jovi sold out stadiums on the strength of his voice for 4 decades. Not vocal acrobatics, connection.
Is that you left behind or just memories of a
The ability to make a crowd of 80,000 people feel like they were the only person in the room. That voice was his entire instrument. And by 2022, it was failing in a way he couldn't manage past. Bon Jovi stopped performing in 2022. When the Hulu documentary Thank You Goodnight came out in 2024, he explained what had happened. One of his vocal cords was atrophying, not strained in the usual way, not nodules, the kind that can be removed and healed, literally wasting away.
when it says the words you've been needing to hear. I wish I
One cord thick as a thumb, the other thick as a pinky, in his words.
I can't sing a love song like the way.
He had a Gore-Tex implant placed outside the cords to rebuild them, an implant in his throat to save a voice.
Now you put your
And here is the line that connects this to everything before it. He said, "I've never worked so hard. You realize how easily it came to you, and then it changes as you get older."
You told me to cry for
You have to work so much harder. 3 years of experimental treatment followed. A specialist who visited his home monthly. Recovery slower than he hoped. And then, in October 2025, the announcement that Bon Jovi would return for a 2026 tour. One chord atrophied. Surgery rebuilt it. He came back. Number 3, Steven Tyler, Aerosmith.
Every moment spent with you is a moment I
Steven Tyler's voice is one of the most distinctive instruments in the history of rock. Not just powerful, specific.
and thank God we're together.
A sound that belongs to a period when American bands like Aerosmith were competing with British bands for control of what a rock frontman could be.
I feel your heart so close to mine.
The scream, the range, the thing he did with a note before releasing it, that was his answer to the competition. And it worked for 50 years. The Peace Out Farewell Tour was announced in May 2023. 50 years of Aerosmith. One final run. 3 shows into the tour. 3. Tyler suffered vocal cord damage during a September 2023 performance in Elmont, New York. Not just cord damage, a fractured larynx, the cartilage that protects the vocal cords, fractured. Here is the interrupt. Aerosmith postponed, rescheduled. Watch Tyler work toward recovery for a full calendar year. In August 2024, the announcement came. The band was retiring from touring. Recovery from Tyler's vocal injury, the band said, was not possible, not difficult, not ongoing, not possible. A fractured larynx. At 75, after 50 years of singing the way Steven Tyler sang, the signature. The specific, unreplicable sound that made Aerosmith what it was no longer structurally able to produce what the stage required. The roots of a tree are the last thing anyone looks at, and the voice is the last thing a frontman considers losing, until it's gone. Aerosmith is done. The stage Tyler spent 5 decades building, the persona, the presence, the performances, ended not with a final bow, but with a medical statement and a refund notice. Number 2, Brian Johnson, AC/DC. Brian Johnson joined AC/DC in 1980. He stepped in after the death of Bon Scott, one of the most beloved frontmen in rock history, and promptly sang on Back in Black, one of the best-selling rock albums ever recorded. He had no business being as good as he was. He was better. By 2016, mid-tour on the Rock or Bust World Tour, something had been building that Johnson had been trying to manage from the inside. He couldn't hear the guitars clearly anymore. He was performing, in his own words, on muscle memory and mouth shapes, feeling his way through songs he'd sung 1,000 times, unable to hear whether they were landing correctly. He said it was crippling. He said there was nothing worse than standing on a stage and not being sure. On March 7th, 2016, after a series of examinations, doctors delivered the verdict. If he continued performing at large venues, he risked total hearing loss. The doctor's phrase was not gentle. Deaf is deaf, son. Here is the specific line this draws. Axl Rose stepped in to complete the tour. The first time in 36 years that someone other than Brian Johnson sang for AC/DC. Johnson couldn't watch. He described it as finding a stranger in your house, sitting in your favorite chair. He called the day of the diagnosis the darkest day of his professional life. Then he spent 3 years in experimental treatment, a specialist who visited his home monthly, a technology that used the bone structure of the skull as a receiver. He returned to AC/DC for a 2020 album, a 2023 live performance, a 2024 tour. He listened to the doctors. He found a path. He came back. Number 1. Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath. Ozzy Osbourne was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in February 2019. He revealed it publicly in January 2020. PRKN2, a specific form of the disease linked to a gene mutation. His wife Sharon described it plainly in the interview. Not a death sentence, she said, but it affects certain nerves. You have good days, and then a really bad day. By early 2025, Ozzy Osbourne had lost his ability to walk. Here is where every thread on this map converges. Roth cited his doctors and stepped back from the stage. Daltrey sweated through the meningitis and kept going, at 82, nervous about making it to the end of the run. Vince Neil had strokes and came back defiant. Glenn Frey played through invisible pain for 15 years until it took him. Greg Allman kept his terminal diagnosis private and performed until he couldn't. Paul Stanley rebuilt himself surgically and sang to backing tracks at the end. John Bon Jovi had a Gore-Tex implant placed in his throat and found his way back. Steven Tyler fractured his larynx and was told recovery was not possible. Brian Johnson was told he would go deaf and found a path through. And then there is Ozzy Osbourne, who could not walk, and who stepped onto a stage one final time. July 5, 2025, Villa Park, Birmingham, England. The original Black Sabbath lineup, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, and Ozzy, performing together for the first time since 2005. The band that invented heavy metal, together in the city where they began, for a show they called Back to the Beginning. He couldn't get to that stage under his own power. He performed anyway. Ozzy Osbourne died 17 days later, July 22, 2025. He was 76 years old. Some of you just connected that to something. The way every frontman on this list refused, in his own way, to let the body have the final word. And the way, in the end, the body always does. The stage is not something these men do. It is something they are. And when the thing you are is something that requires a stage to exist in full, the question of whether to perform one more time becomes less a question of health and more a question of identity. Ozzy answered that question in the only way he knew, on a stage, in Birmingham, 17 days before the end. Once you see this connection, once you place every name on this list against that final image, you will hear all of them differently. Not as individual stories, as a single map with a single destination that every entry was always moving toward.